Episode of the Marketing Podcast is brought to you by Neighborhood Domains. Every business needs a domain name, including yours. Visit neighborhooddomains.com and use offer code MARKETING to get 10% off hosting and domain registration.
On this episode, we're talking Snapchat. DJ Khaled is in trouble for not disclosing his sponsored posts. Snapchat has launched a commerce experiment. They've also announced group chat, and they're looking at relaunching spectacles.
Creativity sells. Applying the right creative at the right time is the recipe for great marketing. The Marketing Podcast looks at marketing news and finds the secret ingredients that make great marketing.
Hi, welcome to the Marketing Podcast. I'm Heather Watson.
And I'm Brendan Quigley.
How you doing today, Brendan?
Excellent.
I'm feeling great.
Just got a Snapchat from my wife.
Did you really?
Lots of muffins got baked at my house.
Wow.
So we got to cut this one short.
Okay. Can we just record over there instead?
Let's go.
Next time I expect treats. What? Why are we waiting at McDonald's in line for so long before we come in? Why are you not bringing us fresh muffins?
Well, because I wasn't home. She did it like today. Yeah. Had to leave.
Well, it's funny that she sent you a snap because today we're talking about nothing but Snapchat. Nothing but Snapchat. I feel like we don't talk about Snapchat enough. So today's the day we're going to dedicate a whole episode to it.
Most people don't talk about Snapchat enough.
Well, you know, the 13-year-olds and 21-year-olds talk about Snapchat every day. You know who else talks about Snapchat?
Who?
DJ Khaled.
Who's DJ Khaled?
You don't know who Khaled is?
I don't. Should I know?
You should. He's kind of a big deal. You know, among the young crowd.
I'm going to go look up DJ Khaled music now.
He's the best. Number one. Old school.
Yeah?
Not really, but he thinks so. So we have to call him the best. It's like King Khaled.
Oh, I see. Okay.
His kid's a big deal. All that kind of stuff. And this whole piece is because he's gotten into a bit of trouble on Snapchat. So this is coming out of, let's just source the article, Ad Age. That's right. And he is a big influencer. Like one of his things is, in addition to being a musician, and I think he even has a clothing line, he is a big influencer, sometimes even referred to as the king of Snapchat. Like he's that big of a deal on Snapchat,
okay.
Right?
All right.
And we have talked about in the past, Truth in Advertising, the organization, or TINA, which is a watchdog group that's basically, you know, within the past year has really started cracking down on false advertising, influencers who aren't using, you know, hashtag sponsored content or hashtag ad in their messaging, because we want to make sure that people who are getting paid to communicate messages about things are also disclosing that they're getting paid, right? Which has always existed in traditional media, or not always, but for quite some time, but hasn't really, it's been pretty gray in social media. So very recently, there were some complaints sent through to Truth in Advertising about Khaled's behavior on Snapchat, because he's been posting liquor brands, which is part of his brand, right? Like just part of his personal brand is about, you know, the living big, if you will. And he hadn't been properly labeling those liquor brand type of lifestyle snaps that he was sending as being advertising, and also that it was reaching minors.
Okay. Now I see the issue.
Right, it's two issues. One is he's not labeling as ads. Like that's an issue in and of itself that I'm pretty strong entrenched on.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Keep going.
Okay. So he positions himself as being, you know, this, and I'm not saying he isn't, but he's also like this really big dad. Like being a dad is a big thing to him. So like his brand of being this big player, high roller, hip hop guy with vodka and women around him, is also him holding his son.
Yeah, they have some pictures here in the article.
Yeah. So some of the posts include a video where he can be seen pouring vodka and wine into a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
The product placement possibilities.
Yeah. So how many sponsorships just for that one post? In an Instagram post, I know we're talking about Snapchat, but this is still around the file. Bottles of vodka and wine can be seen as he's holding his kid, and signs of Epic Records contract renewals. So he's popping champagne, so to speak, because the hip hop, that's how the hip hop folk talk, right? Popping champagne.
There we go. Yeah.
There we go.
Guess so.
So they haven't filed a complaint. Tina, who has the right, hasn't filed a complaint with the FTC, the Trade Commission, because he wasn't actively promoting an alcohol brand within 10 days. So it was like on a technicality, they can't federally process it, but he has been very alcohol focused, more than 100 times in a short period of time. Instagram more than 190 times, more than 30 mentions on Facebook, more than 20 mentions on Twitter of alcohol, within less than a year, 6 or 8 months. So he's referred. He discloses that he ties to the alcohol brands, but it's not necessarily sponsored content. But it's always the same brands that are showing up. Right.
His favorite brand, maybe.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, arguably, we often talk about McDonald's. McDonald's shows up. Papa John's shows up. They're not sponsoring us.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. We would take their money if they did sponsor us. I would like a McDonald's or Papa John's sponsorship for the podcast. But if they did, we would have to disclose that they're a sponsor.
Yeah, right. Now, this is the bit that I find difficult with this, because I would expect an influencer's posts to be all sponsored, whereas I don't necessarily expect a news agency's posts to be sponsored, if that makes sense. But I mean, you can't have two rules. Like, you can't have like a tiered system, and which level do you fall into, and how do we control that? Like, I get
a news agency has ads, and there's a very different tone.
Oh yeah, but it's like, if let's say they post ads on their social, well, news agency might be that might be a bad, like a coffee shop or like a business. Like, I don't expect them to have sponsored content, And so when they do, or if they do, yeah, I'd like to know that it was sponsored content.
And it has to be. Like, those are the rules.
But like the DJ over here, like, I kind of half expect all of the stuff to be sponsored. Like, I guess I'm trained by the Kardashians for that. Like, we've heard how much it costs for one post for the Kardashians to make. Like, I can't imagine they're going to waste
like Wayne
posts.
Gretzky on the Shreddies box, right? Like,
yeah, right.
Like, back in the day, we
know athletes.
We know that they do that. But we also have to assume that not everybody would know that, right? And then the question is, and this is where it really matters. I mean, DJ Khaled, he's like, mega, like the Kardashians, mega presence, mega awareness in society in North America. And you can assume that. But, you could be a mom blogger or a dad blogger and talking about products and still be considered an influencer. And,
yep.
And how do you... I expect a traditional influencer to be taking money for this kind of stuff. I assume that to be happening, like you say, but where's the line? Is it based on the number of followers? Is it based on the number of albums they've sold? Like, where they don't have to. So I think they have to kind of apply that label across the board, regardless of who you are.
Right. And that's what it is. It's hard to like distinguish between two influencers.
You could be a YouTube star and not have any signed record deals, but still have quite a bit of influence with your audience.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So how do you delineate between the two? So he's got into trouble. And the important part to me about this whole piece is we've talked about these rules quite a bit in the past, making sure that you're labeling sponsored content as such or ads as such in social media. We've talked about influencers like the Kardashians who have done it or who have not done it. And we've talked about how these rules are changing how people are, the expectations and the standards. And they're good standards. I believe in them. I think we should rise to them. And most people are very compliant. But it's nice to see that they're being enforced now.
Definitely. And I also think that it doesn't hurt the ad at all, if that makes any sense. Right? Because ultimately the influencer gets to decide if they take the money or not.
Right.
Right? So if I'm following DJ Khaled because I like his shtick on life, the fact that he decided to take a bunch of alcohol sponsors is probably in line with what I like about him.
Yeah, and it's in line with his brand. And
exactly.
It's probably, you could be somebody who would aspire to his lifestyle,
This is it. And now I like to flip it and talk directly to aspiring influencers. Like, don't sell out on your shtick. Don't sell out on your personal brand. Don't just take money because it's being given to you.
Yep.
Because you'll lose your audience.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
really go with the ones that make sense, and don't be afraid to reach out to the brands that make sense to you to say, hey, we should do something because I really believe in your product, your service, your thing, your brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, then there's the whole other level of Khaled is now doing these things with his young one in arm, right? And I love that he's a proud dad. And I know, you know, as a mom of a young kid, when he was little, nothing would stop me from having a beverage in his presence.
Oh, yeah.
But
right.
when you're seeing kind of doing it in this luxe, lavish, over the top, abusive alcohol kind of way, promoting alcohol abuse,
Yep.
and you've got your toddler on your hip, that's a different message altogether, particularly when Snapchat reaches a younger audience. So now what is your role as a role model, a mentor, you know, as somebody that 13 to 15-year-olds are looking up to, right?
Yeah.
Have a baby and drink punch bowls of vodka?
Yeah.
Not cool.
And while this technically might not apply to Snapchat because they technically delete the pictures afterwards, there is a rising issue of the right to be forgotten. So, you know, parents posting pictures of their children, maybe embarrassing, maybe not, maybe cute, maybe not, but basically the child having a digital presence growing up, and always all those things being able to be found, and that's going to be, I really think that's going to be like another issue coming up.
Yeah.
Like another
I know.
major
Yeah,
thing.
no, I think we've
Yeah.
talked about that on this very podcast, but I've had lots of great debates about it too, about how we're exposing and impugning our children before they even realize it, and that their public record is a
Yeah.
public record, and it's not our rights as parents to be able to determine that, but that's just my
I feel like this is the bit where we go, DJ Khaled, you do you,
yeah,
and move on. Is
yeah.
that how this works?
Yeah. I think that's it. Let's move on. Good cue. So staying with the Snapchat theme, Snapchat is now experimenting with commerce for publishers. You look like you're going to say something.
But look, we could have predicted this, right?
Sure.
Like I feel like
Can you
Snapchat.
predict my lottery ticket number?
Well, no, but I feel like Snapchat and Instagram are locked in the feature first battle. And one gets something, the other one kind of copies it or tries to make it their own or that kind of stuff. So we've had shoppable posts available now for a couple months on Instagram. We're starting to see it being used for a number of online e-commerce platforms. So I'm not surprised to see Snapchat experimenting with it.
Sure, it's monetization for Snapchat, right? They need to be able to do this
And
to be
it's
able
really
to stay
helpful.
viable.
It's really helpful for like I know fashion bloggers who will go into a store and they'll Snapchat a bunch of outfits that they're wearing. Like it would be helpful to be like, oh, that blouse, click, or that pair of pants, and away you go. It's actually like a helpful thing. And then on top of it, monetizable.
Yeah. So this came out of DigiDay, the source on it. And basically they're adding an option, or rumored to be adding an option, that lets users swipe up to buy products from a virtual storefront inside Discover. So that's that kind of second screen, like where you're...
Thank you for doing something with Discover.
Yeah.
Other than what it's doing right now.
Yeah, Discover's not all that great in Snapchat. So it offers Snapchat branded merchandise like sweatshirts and hats. Snaps currently, the model, the way that they've set it up, they're not taking a cut of the sales. Now, of course, they're taking a cut of the advertise, like they're taking the ad revenue, but they're not taking a cut of the sales.
That's interesting.
I think it's probably because anything they monetize through the app is also monetized by Apple.
Oh, right. On the iOS, because that'd be a huge portion.
That would be a big cost to them.
That's true, eh?
Yeah.
Because it'd be a 30%. Whereas the advertising, they can monetize separately?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So
sneaky.
this has come from some verified sources, but Snap hasn't commented on it. So as of the time of the recording of this particular episode, nothing has come out formally on it from Snapchat. Meanwhile, they've reached a deal to reconcile with publishers and let them post that branded content on the app. So previously, publishers couldn't create their ads on Discover.
Oh, okay. I think you, as a business, should be online selling your thing. And I think that you should be using... I'm going to talk more about Instagram's shoppable posts than this upcoming potential with Snapchat. But I really do think that if you sell, you should be taking nice pictures of the things you sell and putting them on social with a link back to where you can buy it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. And some numbers that came out of this particular piece from DigiDay, there's 187 million users that are using
187 million.
Using Snapchat right now. Now their audience is shrinking a little bit since Facebook changed to its newsfeed earlier, because there's more engaging user-generated posts and less passively consumed publisher content, if that makes a whole lot of sense. So they are growing. They're trying to monetize properly. This makes sense. Like you said, right off the top of this, it's the Instagram, Snapchat kind of comparison in terms of features. Snapchat was first with the filters. And once Instagram picked it up, everybody kind of jumped over to Instagram, right?
Yep.
So they're just trying to keep up with that and stay relevant. And for businesses, like you had said as well, Brendan, you need to be there. You need to be selling your products online. You may not need to be on Snapchat if that's not where your audience is. But if your audience is there, this is now an option, and be aware of that.
And the demographic for Snapchat is getting older every year.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it really is a young person's thing at the moment. But I mean, that's what happened with Facebook. That's what happened with Instagram. Yeah. So keep an eye on it.
Yeah. Now, official Snapchat news, unlike the last, which was unofficial Snapchat news, some official Snapchat news that came out about a month ago is that they have introduced group video chat. Have you used this yet?
No. Has anyone used group chat?
Video chat?
Video chat.
Well, we use it.
We use it for
work.
meetings.
For meetings. I would never do it in Snapchat. That would be awkward.
But it's not even I think, okay, great. You know, it's great to expand the features of your software. But like, maybe it's just a personal thing. Don't see the need. Like, I guess friends are hanging out together in video.
Yeah,
form.
Maybe. It's true enough. So basically, it's Google Hangouts, but for Snapchat. It's capped at 16 people at one time.
Which is a lot of people.
It's a lot, yeah. I could see the 20 to 24-year-old segment using this.
Yeah?
I think so.
4 years there where you think video chat is the shizzle.
Wow.
I'm being really hard on it only because, like, Skype happened years ago. And people use Skype, but like as a phone call, like they're long distance, you're calling out of seas. Or we use Meet, Google Hangouts, quite regularly as like a get the team together virtually. I'm wondering if the group video chat will be Snapchat's response to like Facebook Live, or you know. So think of it in terms of like these really tight 16 people. Sessions that you can jump into with, you know. And
that's what I think this is. Like, there's already those tight messaging groups on Snapchat that friends are using to send pictures to each other and texts back and forth in a group chat. And I think video just adds to that. Adds to that fun. Typically, people who are using Snapchat are a little bit more, I don't want to say goofy, but like they're not taking themselves too seriously. It's not a meeting. We know this, right? Right. You know, they're using filters or they're showing like ridiculous photos and just sharing stuff back and forth. So I think it's a small group that's going to think that they're a private, like it is a private group, and want to engage with each other that way.
And they did do the group snaps a while back. I think maybe last year or so, where you and 4 friends could add to a single story. Yeah. And let's say you were going on a road trip or you were going, you know.
Yeah. So I think it has potential.
See a place. Tell us if you use it ever.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to use it right now.
They were rolling it out slowly. So they only announced it about a month ago, the beginning of April. And they were doing it as a gradual rollout just to work out any kinks. So not everybody may even have it on their Snapchat.
I can video.
I don't have 16 friends on Snapchat to video with. There's the truth. I wouldn't use it because I don't know 16 people.
Go join Heather Watson.
Yeah. Good luck finding me. I don't even know what my Snapchat thingy is. I use it that often. So the last and final one, and oh my goodness, I hope this is like the final kick at the can for Snapchat. Snap Spectacles. This is coming out of Fast Company. I love Fast Company. I've been reading them since 1995.
So if you don't know what a Snap Spectacle is, it's quite a spectacle. basically they're glasses with
They're like Google
Snapchat
glasses.
built in.
Like, remember Google Glasses?
Yeah,
They
but
came
these
and
aren't
went.
these aren't designer.
Oh, no,
anything.
these are like, well, again, the kids like them.
But like my 3-year-old,
The kids like them. Yeah, they're pretty cheesy looking glasses.
and they like
in
failed.
Snapchat colors.
They failed, so they already tried to launch these, and no one bought them.
Yeah.
They had a warehouse full of these glasses.
Yeah. So Snapchat's parent company, Snap, took a $40 million write-off for excessive inventory on their first round of spectacles. Due to a lack of sales, they're going to be gearing up for a new released version. So maybe the new released version will have better frames.
Okay, I feel like the Google Glass and the whole controversy around that has maybe told us we don't want glasses that take pictures and video. Like, I feel like this is going to just fail again.
Yeah.
Do they just need write-offs for the tax reasons?
No,
You know what I mean?
I don't know, right? It's interesting. It's an interesting concept, just in spectacle, goggle, glasses. We're all looking through our phones anyways now. It feels like we have those readily available to us. But so the document that was leaked, it's from the FCC. It was first spotted by Variety, but Fast Company is the report that I'm reading this from. The document didn't reveal much about what the new spectacles will be, except that they would offer a faster file transfer via Wi-Fi, and they could have a redesigned frame.
Okay, so here's where I think if you got real creative, where this might be helpful. You are a musician, and people are coming to your concert, and so you give them, the key phrase here is free, all Snap spectacles, and now everyone's wearing Snap spectacles, and everything's going up on a Snapchat, and then you suddenly trend on Snapchat, and away you go.
Yeah.
You don't even trend on Snapchat, though. Like, that doesn't work. I can't. It's not going in right. We'll have to wait and see.
Quick call 13-year-old.
I know. What would you use these glasses for?
Yeah.
Cheating
Would you
on a
wear
test.
these glasses?
Would you wear them?
Would you wear them?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. That's Snapchat. What else do we have?
The state of Snapchat.
The state.
We have our favorite things.
Our favorite things? What are our favorite things?
Spectacles.
No. No. So favorite things for those of you who are joining us for the first time. First, thank you. Welcome. But secondly, our favorite things is each episode we talk about something, a tool that we use to help us get through life. It could be something that's a web app, a website that helps us do the work that we do. And today we're talking about
Google Analytics.
Google Analytics, the Goog.
So if you have a website, you probably have heard of Google Analytics. It's a little snippet of code that you can get from Google Analytics. You can put on each one of your pages on your website, and now you are tracking all sorts of things from how many people visit your website to what pages they land on to how long they stay to if they're new, if they're old, etc., etc., etc. There's a couple of reasons why we like it. First is it's free, so it's free to put this snippet on your website and to track this kind of information. The second part is this kind of information. So what's really helpful about this is from a marketing point of view, you can start to identify maybe parts of your website that aren't working as you expect, places on your website that people aren't even going to, the types of people who are coming to your website, where they're coming from, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There really is like a rabbit hole of information that you can glean from Google Analytics if it's set up correctly, especially if you've got an e-commerce store. You can track cart abandonment and success rates and goals and ROI on advertising if you're driving people to certain products, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, Google certainly is the keeper of all things on the internet these days in terms of customer data or user data. It's not just anymore, what once was clicks, right? And page, it's been so long ago, I can't even remember what they...
Page speed?
Bounce rates,
yes.
Right? Bounce rates
yes.
and click-throughs is basically what we were only looking at one point in time on websites, where people were coming from, like your referral source, and what page they were exiting on. And those were the key metrics that we were looking at. But as you had said, Brendan, it's one of those tools now where you can get demographic information from somebody, which just blows my mind based on the knowledge that Google has on me as a user of the internet.
And it's not specific. It's ranged.
It is ranged.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, Heather Watson who lives here, who is this specific age, but it puts you in that kind of those demographic buckets, so you can get an understanding of, male, female, age, that
location,
kind of stuff, location,
yep.
And time of day when people are coming through on your site. Are they morning surfers or evening surfers?
I find it super helpful too when you're using like Facebook to drive traffic to your website, or so making a Facebook post with a link back. You can really start to see what posts worked and what posts didn't, just from the spike in traffic after the post was made.
And I'm going to stop you there because that's a really important piece. And we just talked about this very recently at a group of people, WordPress enthusiasts who were meeting. Most small businesses know that they need to have Google Analytics, or somebody tells them they need to have Google Analytics on their website to track this kind of stuff. But most don't check their analytics ever. And it's there in perpetuity. It goes like all the way back in time to the day that you put it on your site. So you have those analytics. So if you're gathering that information that you already have, you can use that for your advantage. So if you're purchasing, say, Facebook advertising, as you just said, don't just look at the Facebook metrics that Facebook is giving you through their horrible platform to be able to look in the back end to see what those metrics are. And everybody says it's really difficult to understand those numbers. I'm not saying Google Analytics is even any better as a dashboard to look through, but looking at those numbers together, side by side, if you know that you're running a Facebook campaign this week and you've spent $100 on that campaign, Facebook's going to give you data in terms of the age and the demographics and their likes and their reach and the clicks and the cost per click and all that kind of stuff. But then you can look at your own data on your Google Analytics account to see if there's anything else that you're missing, because they're going to be able to give you additional information to help either corroborate that story or give you some different intelligence. And then you're going to look at your sales to see where that takes you. The other piece of information that I should share that's really important that you touched on is oftentimes if you're paying somebody to set up your website for you, they'll do it on their own. Typically is put that Google Analytics number on there. You don't necessarily have to ask them to do it, but you should. If they're not, it should be part of your, when you're asking them to quote on building you a website. But make sure that it's your Google Analytics account and that you have access to it and that you have ownership to it, and that once you're done, you've terminated the relationship of the project with your web developer, that you revoke their access to your metrics. And we tend to, as developers and as an agency, we tend to, when we're done a project, we voluntarily remove ourselves from any of the admin functions that we may have on, whether it's Google Analytics or Facebook or any other account that our clients have given us those privileges. We also only tend to take privileges when we need privileges and the level of privilege. So we don't necessarily need to be a Facebook admin or your admin on your Google Analytics, but we maybe need to be an editor. So we tend to voluntarily back ourselves out of stuff when we're done on a project. But sometimes people don't do that. They forget that they have that. So remove them once you're done with that project and that relationship. Not that they would do anything nefarious, but it's certainly access to information that's your intellectual property. It's the nuts and bolts of your website
and your
business.
Responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
And the pro tip also would be there are courses. If this seems overwhelming and this seems difficult to understand,
free courses
from Google themselves
and Facebook.
Yeah, that will help you, and it's worth, if you're a small business and you can't afford to hire someone to pull the reports together, etc., it's worth spending time to learn it.
Yeah.
It'll help you, even in your brick and mortar business, understand your audience better.
There you go. Well, that was a fun show, all about Snapchat. Hopefully we don't have to talk about them again for a while. I really just don't understand those kids.
Those Generation Zers.
I don't even know what they are.
They never had to work.
Kids. I'm starting to sound like a curmudgeon more and more.
There you go.
Day.
Yeah.
I'm like I'm becoming my father.
They don't even know what avocado toast tastes like. That's like the millennial
I don't even
thing,
know what
right?
avocado taste is.
Millennials have the avocado toast. I don't like it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So on that positive note, please subscribe to us at themarketingpodcast.ca. Maybe even tell a friend. And thank you so much for listening. For The Marketing Podcast, I'm Heather Watson.
And I'm Brendan Quigley.